Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Look, today I wanted to talk to you about what opens up at different percentage ratings. So some of us are aware, some of us aren't aware, some of us have a little bit of clarity on it, and some have no clue, right? As far as the additional things that open up within the VA at certain levels of disability compensation. So whether you're 10%, 30, 70, whatever, different things open up. So it's almost like little buckets of new benefits open up to you as you climb the percentage ladder. Now, what I want to do is I want to share that with you. I'm going to read through it. I'm not sure if it's all going to fit in the description. I'll do what I can, and I'll try to remember to put the link in the comments. So with that, let's jump into it here. Hit the thumbs up for me, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. It helps me out, helps out the channel, and it helps out our fellow brothers and sisters out there that need this information. So this is called the service-connected matrix. There's benefit, so whatever your percentage benefit is, and then there's the derivative, so what's coming with that. And so what I'm going to do, this is basically on the service-connected matrix. So we'll start off with non-compensable 0% disability rating. So if you have a 0%, right? So 0%, if you only have one, what are the things that you still get by simply having a 0%? Now, this is probably not an exhaustive list, but this is a VA list. There's probably other things that you could get by being a non-compensable 0% disabled veteran, right? So again, this is just from the VA side of the house. So one of the things is you get a 10-point veterans preference in federal hiring. You get no-cost health care and prescription drugs for service-connected disabilities if income limits are met. So there's some parameters there. And again, it's only focused on your service-connected condition or conditions. Travel allowance for scheduled appointments for care at VA medical facilities or VA authorized healthcare facility. Commissary and exchange privileges. So that's something fairly new. This went into effect, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago. Went into effect to where any disabled veteran will have access to commissary and exchange privileges. So that's an additional benefit there. Use of commissaries, exchanges, and the MWR retail facilities, in person and online. So there's a lot that comes with just being a 0% rated veteran. Now there's also compensable 0% disability ratings. So what happens is that if you have multiple 0%, then what happens is the VA will actually pay you out at a 10%. So if all you have is, let's say, 3 or 4 0%, they will still compensate you just because you have several conditions. Now there is a note on here, and this note states, in some instances there are individuals who have separate and more than 2 0% service-connected disabilities who are paid at the minimum 10%. And that's out of 38 CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, 3.324. All right, so that's the little note. What do you get? To the 10-point veterans preference in federal hiring, no-cost health care and prescription drugs for service-connected disabilities if income limits are met. Travel allowance for scheduled appointments at the VA medical facility or authorized health care facility. Waiver of VA funding fee for a VA home loan, for those that don't know. So that could be thousands and thousands of dollars. Typically, it's 1% VA funding fee if you utilize the VA home loan. Now, a little side note here, if you have an effective date that is prior to your close of escrow, then you get awarded your disability, but you've already closed escrow, and then you get awarded, but your effective date's over here, you can get that funding fee refunded. So, important to know. So that's, again, for purchasing a home. Typically 1% of the loan amount is that cost. So burial and plot allowance, commissary and exchange privileges, and then use of the commissary exchanges and MWR, both in person and online. Next, you have service-connected at 10%, no-cost health care and prescription medications for service-connected disabilities, travel allowance for scheduled appointments, waiver of VA funding fee on the home loan, 10% veteran preference for federal hiring. Voc Rehab comes into play for those with a serious employment handicap, burial and plot allowance, clothing, commissary and exchange privileges, and then commissary, exchange and moral welfare and recreation, the MWR, in-person, online. Next, we have 20%, no-cost health care, prescription medication services, and you notice now it's saying that there's no income thresholds. Travel allowance for scheduled appointments. I'm going to kind of shorten up the ones that I've said before, right? So travel allowance for the scheduled appointments, waiver of the VA funding fee, 10-point preference, Voc Rehab. Now it's moved from serious employment handicap to just you're eligible to apply for now Voc Rehab. Still, it's an employment initiative, so and it's funny that they're still calling it Voc Rehab. It's veteran readiness and employment. So burial plot allowance, commissary and exchange, and then the use of the commissaries, exchanges, and MWR. Next is 30%, no cost health insurance, the travel allowance, the waiver of the funding fee, the 10% preference for federal hiring. But in addition to that, now you have the direct hire authority, which speeds up the process and allows you to circumvent some of the hiring process for employers on the federal government side that are looking to hire a veteran. So direct hire authority. Vocational VRNE, the Veteran Readiness and Employment. Additional compensation is now in play at the 30%. And it's really the 30 and 40% have the same bucket of additional benefits. So once you hit the 30%, you can add your spouse, you can add dependent children. If you have dependent parents, that type of stuff you can add for additional compensation. You still get the burial and plot allowance, commissary exchange privileges, both in-person, online, as well as the MWR. Next, you have 50% rating, no-cost health care and prescription medications, travel allowance for scheduled appointments, the waiver of the funding fee for home loans, 10-point preference for federal hiring, plus the direct hire authority, the VRNE, that's the Veteran Readiness and Employment, additional compensation for eligible dependents stays in play, concurrent receipt of military retired pay. So for retirees who have a 50% rating or higher, you get to collect your full retirement and your full VA disability. So that's what that means. Concurrent receipt of military retired pay along with your disability. Burial and plot allowance, commissary exchange privileges, commissaries, exchanges, and MWR, in-person and online. The next bucket here is the 60 to 90% rated individuals. So no cost health care and prescriptions, travel allowance for your appointments. The VA funding fee is waived. The 10-point preference with the direct hire. I keep calling it Voc Rehab because they have it written down like that. VRNE, Veterans Readiness and Employment. Additional compensation for eligible dependents. Concurrent receipt for military retiree pay. Individual unemployability can come into play at the 60 to 90% if you meet the specifications for that individual unemployability. For those that don't know, that pushes you to the 100% payment, even though you're rated between 60 to 90%. There are some exceptions for a below 60, but primarily it's in that 60 to 90% range with some other qualifiers. In addition, let's see. Yeah, so under individual unemployability, if you get that, you must be unemployable due to a service-connected disability, and you would also then be able to receive dependents education assistance. That's Chapter 35, and if your unemployability is considered permanent, you can get special restorative training. You can get CHAMP VA, which is the Civilian Health and Medical Program, kind of a health insurance supplement, and then dental care if you're rated unemployable. Burial, plot allowance, commissary exchanges, commissaries exchanges, moral welfare and recreation. That's that MWR, in person and online. Next, we have service-connected disability rating at 100%. No cost health care and prescription medications, travel allowance for your appointments. No cost dental care comes into play. Waiver of VA funding fee for the home loan, 10-point veterans preference and direct hire authority for federal jobs. VRNE, that's the Veterans Readiness and Employment, additional compensation for your eligible dependents, concurrent receipt of your military retiree pay, the dependents education assistance if you are considered permanent at 100%, which is total, so P&T, permanent and total. Also special restorative training. In addition, you get CHAMP VA, which is the Civilian Health and Medical Program, must be considered permanent, burial and plot allowances, and you also get, if you'd like, a Uniformed Services ID card. So for those veterans who are rated at 100%, you can get a DOD ID card. So you can get your actual Department of Defense ID card. Looks pretty much like a retiree card, which is nice to have. So with that, we'll go ahead and conclude it there. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.